or simply the singularity, 1, is a hypothetical future point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseeable consequences for human civilization. 2, 3, according to the most popular version of the singularity hypothesis, I.J. Good's intelligence explosion model of 1965, an upgradable intelligent agent could eventually enter a positive feedback loop of self-improvement cycles, each successive and more intelligent generation appearing more and more rapidly, causing a rapid explosion in intelligence, which would ultimately result in a powerful superintelligence, qualitatively far surpassing all human intelligence. 4. The Hungarian-American mathematician John von Neumann, 1903 to 1957, became the first known person to use the concept of a singularity in the technological context. 5. Need quotation to verify. The Stanislaw Ulam reported in 1958 an earlier discussion with von Neumann centered on the accelerating progress of technology and changes in human life, which gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs, as we know them, could not continue. 6. Subsequent authors have echoed this viewpoint. 3. 7. The concept and the term singularity were popularized by Werner Vinge first in 1983 in an article that claimed that once humans similar, in some sense, to the knotted spacetime at the center of a black hole, 8, and later in his 1993 essay The Coming Technological Singularity, 4-7, in which he wrote that it would signal the end of the human era, as the new superintelligence would continue to upgrade itself. I'm surprised if it occurred before 2005 or after 2030. 4. Another significant contributor to wider circulation of the notion was Ray Kurzweil's 2005 book The Singularity is Near, predicting singularity by 2045. 7. Some scientists, including Stephen Hawking, have expressed concern that artificial superintelligence, ACI, could result in human extinction. 9. 10. The consequences of a technological singularity and its potential benefit or harm to the human race have been intensely debated. Prominent technologists and academics dispute the plausibility of a technological singularity and the associated artificial intelligence explosion, including Paul. Paul Allen, 11. Jeff Hawkins, 12. John Holland, Jaron Lanney, Steven Pinker, 12. Theodore Modis, 13. and Gordon Moore, 12. One claim made was that the artificial intelligence growth is likely to run into decreasing returns instead of accelerating ones, as was observed in previously developed human technologies. Intelligence explosion. Edit. Further information, recursive self-improvement. Although technological progress has been accelerating in most areas, it has been limited by the basic intelligence of the human brain, which has not, according to Paul R. Ehrlich, changed significantly for millennia. 14. However, with the increasing power of computers and other technologies, it might eventually be possible to build a machine that is significantly more intelligent than humans. 15. If a superhuman intelligence were to be invented, either through the amplification of human intelligence or through artificial intelligence, it would, in theory, vastly improve over human problem-solving and inventive skills. Such an AI is referred to as seed AI. 16. 17. Because if
I think there's a typo. It says over. It would, in theory, vastly improve over human problem solving. Because that's where it is.
an AI were created with engineering capabilities that matched or surpassed those of its human creators, it would have the potential to autonomously improve its own software and hardware to design an even more capable machine, which could repeat the process in turn. This recursive self-improvement could accelerate, potentially allowing enormous qualitative change before any upper limits imposed by the laws of physics or theoretical computations set in. It is speculated that over many iterations, such an AI would far surpass human cognitive abilities. I.J. Good speculated that superhuman intelligence might bring about an intelligence explosion. Sat Smiley 18, 19. Let an ultra-intelligent machine be defined as a machine that can far surpass all the intellectual activities of any man, however clever. Since the design of machines is one of these intellectual activities, an ultra-intelligent machine could design even better machines. There would then unquestionably be an intelligence explosion, and the intelligence of man would be left far behind. Thus the first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man need ever make, provided that the machine is docile enough to tell us how to keep it under control. Speculations concerning the first ultra-intelligent machine, 1965. One version of intelligence explosion is where computing power approaches infinity in a finite amount of time. In this version, once AIs are performing the research to improve themselves, speed doubles, e.g. after 2 years, then 1 year, then 6 months, then 3 months, then 1.5 months, etc., where the infinite sum of the doubling periods is 4 years. Unless prevented by physical limits of computation.
Eliezer Yudkowsky.
Computation and time quantization. This process would literally achieve infinite computing power in 4 years, properly earning the name Singularity for the final state. This form of intelligence explosion is described in Yudkowsky, 1996. 20. Emergence of superintelligence. A superintelligence, hyperintelligence, or superhuman intelligence is a hypothetical agent that possesses intelligence far surpassing that of the brightest and most gifted human minds. 21. Superintelligence may also refer to the form or degree of intelligence possessed by such an agent. John von Neumann, Werner Vinge, and Ray Kurzweil define the concept in terms of the technological creation of superintelligence, arguing that it in a post-singularity world. 422. The related concept, speed superintelligence, 23, for example, with a million-fold increase in the speed of information processing relative to that of humans. A subjective year would pass in 30 physical seconds. 24. Such a difference in information processing speed could drive the singularity. 25. Technology forecasters and researchers.
Well, that could be good or bad. Depends on. I haven't actually read the whole page here. Exercise.
Researchers disagree regarding when, or whether, human intelligence will likely be surpassed. Some argue that advances in artificial intelligence, AI, will probably result in general reasoning systems that bypass human cognitive limitations. Others believe that humans will evolve or directly modify their biology so as to achieve radically greater intelligence. 26. 27. The number of future studies focus on scenarios that combine these possibilities, suggesting that humans are likely to interface with computers, or upload their minds to computers, in a way that enables substantial intelligence amplification. The book The Age of M, by Robin Hanson describes a hypothetical future scenario of digital versions of human consciousness. In this future, the development of these uploads may proceed or coincide with the emergence of superintelligent artificial intelligence. 28. Variations. Edit. Non-AI singularity. Edit. Some writers use the singularity in a broader way to refer to any radical changes in society brought about by new technology, such as molecular nanotechnology, 29, 30, 31, although Vinge and other writers specifically state that without superintelligence, such changes would not qualify as a true singularity. 4. Predictions. Edit. Good wrote that it is more probable than not that an ultra-intelligent machine would be built in the 20th century. 18. In 1993, Vinge predicted greater than human intelligence between 2005 and 2030. 4. In 1996, Yudkowsky predicted a singularity.
This fellow. IG good. I think Binge's comments may be posted here out of context because I've listened to one more than at least one of his talks and maybe two, and I clearly remember him talking about a scenario where if the technological singularity didn't happen, that it would be a lot more worse, or at least worse than if it were to happen. But now, if it were to happen, and there's a certain amount of risk associated with the extinction of the species, then how do you define this issue? So it depends on what Vinje was thinking.
Singularity in 2021, 20 in 2005. Kurzweil predicted human-level AI around 2029, 32, and the singularity in 2045, 33. In a 2017 interview, Kurzweil reaffirmed his estimates, 34. In 1988, Moravec predicted that if the rate of improvement continues, the computing capabilities for human-level AI would be available in supercomputers before 2010, 35. In 1998, Moravec predicted human-level AI by 2040, and intelligence far beyond us. Conducted in 2012 and 2013 by Nick Bostrom and Vincent C. Muller, suggested a confidence of 50% that human-level AI would be developed by 2040, 2050.
Yeah, but that's not. I haven't looked at this poll. I have no idea who Mueller is. There are others though, like the founders of Siri, I think. I forget the others, but their prediction was on the span of this was like 10 years ago, between 10 and 8 years ago, maybe longer. But their prediction was in 200 years. However, I mean, these are smart people because they timed the launch of Siri really well. But maybe they made some errors in their calculations and didn't anticipate certain trends. Um, anyways,
37, 38. Plausibility. Edit. Prominent technologists and academics dispute the plausibility of a technological singularity, including Paul Allen, 11, Jeff Hawkins, 12, and Gordon Moore, 12, whose law is often cited in support of the concept, 39.
that's interesting. I don't know who Theodore is. Modis. Excuse me. But what is the basis for them to dispute the plausibility is like the question. And that's like that would be an action item because either it is a uniform set of thinking or maybe it's different ways of thinking. Read one book by Hawkins. I haven't really finished reading an entire book by Pinker, but I kind of have a rudimentary understanding of how he thinks. I think he's a linguist by trade. Quite well versed in history, I would say, in the past 700 years, maybe more. Quite well versed in like trends in the global landscape in the past 50 to 100 years. Paul Allen's obviously Microsoft. I also don't know who Holland is. Jaron Lanier is like a I've seen some of his talks. He's like on Wired particularly, and I have no idea if his views are. I don't know of his wider views, but I think he talks a fair bit about tech, the like the the tech and um like emergence of things like Web 3.0 and Web 2.0 before that, and maybe the interaction of these technologies or human interaction with these technologies and things of that nature. I could be wrong, but anyways, let's keep going.
39. Most proposed methods for creating superhuman or transhuman minds fall into one of two categories: intelligence amplification of human brains and artificial intelligence. The many speculated ways to augment human intelligence include direct brain.
That sounds like Pierce. We're going with very little information, but I mean, there's now the brain machine company. What's it called? Neuralink. But these have existed prior to. It's just a different kind of maybe. Anyways, there's also kernel. I don't know how effective it is. I have no idea about mind uploading or the other areas. Yeah, it's not a comprehensive review, but like anyways, so
Computer interfaces and mind uploading. These multiple possible paths to an intelligence explosion, all of which will presumably be pursued, makes a skepticism of human intelligence augmentation, writing that once the low-hanging fruit of easy methods for increasing human intelligence have been exhausted, further improvements will become increasingly difficult. 40. Despite all of the speculated ways for
the whole thing kind of seems a little like stupid in the sense that first of all, intelligence alone is not enough. That's not an anti-DeepMind comment, which is an organization I like a lot, uh, because their stated mission is to solve intelligence, whereby intelligence can then be leveraged to solve other problems. So they are making quite good inroads into these realms, but we're lucky that somehow the founders had good intentions and upbringing and ethics. Um, and I'll stop there. But that being said, intelligence is not enough. And if you're like just reviewing the set of like I don't know how many times the page is actually being edited and by whom, but this is you need something's got to happen though, because the steps towards some realm appear to be imminent. Uh, um, my very rudimentary thought is that it will lead to an intelligence explosion. And I've got like some other thoughts there in the two-part video, and but I still haven't had a chance to um, review how the bad to really bad or super worst kind of scenario, or just worst scenarios are going to happen. Um, there are other challenges though, which I will not talk about here. I don't know. Seed AI, it just seems like it's a new kind of twist to
Amplifying human intelligence.
like a sounds like more like a marketing ploy to call something a seed AI. Although I don't know how many times I've heard this before. Word AGI, weak AI, strong AI, super intelligence. But seed, if a superhuman intelligence were to be invented, either through amplification of human intelligence or through artificial intelligence, it would in theory vastly improve over human problem solving and inventive skills. Such an AI is referred to as seed AI. Yeah, I don't think intelligence is enough. I cannot elaborate on this. But I I can begin to see the risk of some serious problems. So far I've kind of explored in my non-educated capacity on this topic, or let's call it developing. Um, this requires sustained effort. You need like teams looking at this, and I know people are looking at this, but uh, I am beginning to shift my thinking in the sense, you got to be realist because we see this happening. We see the state of like drone warfare, for example, and then cybersecurity and other realms. And um, left to chance, I don't think things are going to improve. That is not a pessimistic comment. It's a realist comment. And so uh, this desire on part of specific agents to uh, wield some realms to then perpetuate kind of like the zero-sum game kind of mentality. That is what can, I think, cause some serious problems. Because we're not just thinking like a group of adversaries. And I will stop there, but uh, this could be really bad, which is, from my limited perspective, not a stance to wanna uh, um, put a moratorium, I think it's called, or like freeze. I think it's the same thing, but moratorium would be a complete stop, the way I understand it. And a freeze could be temporary. I don't know how that's going to happen. I can begin to think about that from my an educated perspective. But uh, without a question, in the hands, something like even steps two could cause some serious harm, which has been my stance for a very long time, going back to the comments I have made on the Singularity Hub, going back maybe 10 years, when you could make comments on the Singularity Hub. Now, I think around 2016 or 17 or maybe later, they disabled that feature. And that's bright. Uh, so yeah, it's a challenging problem because now we're thinking of, let me stop sharing, and this is very rudimentary. Just messaging me. Okay. Gotta check my messages. Alrighty. So now we are going to take a detour, and this is mentioned this in Quora. This fellow is I haven't looked at his detail, like his research in a lot of detail, and I don't know how much of it I can share because copyright, where is the means to be able to there used to be an option here to only bring images that are not copyrighted. Anyways, I'm not using his content to call it my own, his pictures right there. This is the fellow's name. And I don't know a lot of people who actually do this kind of a study whereby they look at the this is not a kind of like a sensationalist kind of video or anything of that sort. Um, that being said, if you uh if you don't model uh the means through which um like there should be a way to model uh you know like simple modeling can yield um anyway, so this is what uh, Safa does. I don't know him personally. Stands for Human and Nature Dynamics. Uh, I forget what the Y stands for. Let's take a look. Well, I don't know what's going on there. Human and Nature Dynamic Model. Human and Nature Dynamic Model. Okay, whatever. Um, so it's there's and I think Strauss also talks about this. Um, um, Origins podcast. Um, I was gonna say Leo Strauss for a second. uh, anyhow, um, serious topic. Uh, so yeah, I don't really know how this is really truly modeled. I haven't looked at the research, but you have inputs and carrying capacity. This is not a comprehensive model because you've got like black swan events and things of that nature. So I don't know if all of that can truly be modeled. Um, uh, it can if you just kind of use like even with simple risk assessment, you can model it. Um, but the handy models, uh, human and nature, what's it called? Human and nature dynamic model, right? Uh, got to be sure about what we're talking about. Yeah, human and nature dynamics and dynamic model. So as humans are converting nature into wealth without bringing the Malthusian limits into the context, is what's going to determine the carrying capacity. So in the different kind of scenarios, I haven't actually done the research here, so I'm just kind of looking at it and talking about it. But I remember looking at this one. So I remember watching Motashari's talk on this, and he talks about in the situation whereby nature has collapsed, and the degree to which obviously that's going to determine the ability to be able to have the carrying capacity in, if you want to call this stratified, like kind of economic model. Um, so I don't know what wealth represents, but uh, in the sense that if we distribute the population set amongst the elites and the commoners, that's the kind of results you could expect. Makes rational sense because you get the degree to which the nature's collapsing, which is going to result to plummeting population in all segments. Maybe the elites are going to hold on to a little bit longer in this particular scenario because whatever, like there's like some underground farms and things of that nature, but eventually the whole thing is going to plummet because you don't have that distributed now set of networks to do stuff. Uh, and it's unlikely that automatons are going to just magically kind of run that. Um, there's different types here, so I don't know what type L. There's a type L. Was a type N full collapse. This is type L collapse, scarcity of labor. Maybe I'm mixing that with what I just said. So it looks like in this scenario, it doesn't look like, I don't know what these numbers suggest. So could like spend like an hour just or like half an hour looking at the research paper and kind of going from there. But in this other scenario, you've got a type L collapse. Now, why does it call a type L collapse? Scarcity of labor. It's right there. So in this scenario, you've got a situation whereby the collapse of nature is somehow accompanied with the rise of wealth. So this is classic, I guess, turning nature into wealth. And as that wealth is generating or a period of, this all happening in a period of looks, I'm eyeballing this 500 years. If you go from here, well, maybe 600 to 750 years. That is 150. So, okay. Yeah, I'm just eyeballing this right now. And so in this band between 500, 650 years plus minus, you've got nature being converted into wealth, whereby you've got the rise of the commoner population. Uh, there's a carrying capacity, which, like, it's in this case, the commoner population at least has not overshot the carrying capacity. In this case, it has way beyond, right? It's like how do you determine that? But what's interesting is as the commoner population begins to decline, you've got a huge steep in the population of the elites, uh, or I don't know what equivalent elite means. And what's interesting is that nature also begins to looks like it's healing at some point, but so the question is, what happened here? I don't know what k is equals to 100 means. Different route to collapse in which although nature eventually recovers, population does not. Hmm. So, uh, is a steep rise in the population for the elites happening because in this scenario, the population is heading towards uh, superabundance? And if that happens, then what is the real reason? Uh, well, maybe it is as simple as what I said. You've got the commoner population massively converting into elites, whereby the means of production have shifted. You got a superabundance. I'm just making a set of assumptions that could be totally wrong, but you've got super elites or elites, sorry, commoners uh, becoming elites. And if that's going to happen, then what's the reason? Um, Maybe it is what I just said. I'm repeating myself, but it's recording, right? Yeah. Um, it looks like a conversion of the population said, but then maybe there's nobody who is even like a human in the loop, and then the whole thing collapses because nobody knows how to do anything anymore. Uh, okay. Let's take a look at this one. We kind of went like we should have gone like one, two, three, four. But anyways, let's look at this one now. In this, the first two, they're all unequal societies, but there's different scenarios, obviously. So this one is focused on soft landing to optimal equilibrium. And in this case, starting with the commoners at the bottom. No, I don't I'm just looking at the graph. I don't mean any puns. Uh, uh, in this case, not hitting the threshold or overshooting the capacity, the carrying capacity. Nature's still getting depleted, but the rate at which nature gets depleted is not plummeting in the other scenario or kind of plummeting in the sense it just kind of plateaus out. And wealth creation has plateaued out also. But what's interesting is I don't know what these really mean. So um everything seems to be plateauing out with the exception of uh like how it's plateauing matters because nature is diminishing and then the it's diminishing at a constant rate, but at some point it stops diminishing and it's just plateauing, whereby wealth is increasing at a consistent rate, but at some point it plateaus out. And same with the commoner population, but the delta for the rise in the population for the elites is quite steep and it plateaus out. Um, well, they're calling it soft landing to optimal equilibrium, but the question is how is that society really structured and like how does stuff get done? Um, like the upkeep and maintenance of society, I guess that's the kind of the question I'm thinking at the back of my mind. So the fourth scenario here is an unequal society. They're all unequal societies scenarios here. This is called the oscillatory approach towards equilibrium. So of all the scenarios noticed, these two have the steepest decline for wealth, sorry, for nature, but this one is this like I'm eyeballing this. There's a very sharp decline, from the onset and within a span of what looks like 100 years, nature has completely collapsed. Right over here, it's happening over 250 years. Over here, it's kind of oscillating. When the nature is oscillating, like going kind of like down and up. And this is like a 800-year cycle. Over here is collapsing at least for the first 300 years, then plateaus out. But this one is a very sharp decline. And as that is happening, you've got like a quite a steep increase in almost all sets of populations, uh, the commoner and the elite, and there's a corresponding spike in the wealth generation. But you can clearly see that as the nature crosses a certain threshold, there's there's a clear correlation of like I would think it's like well it depends how you look at it. It's actually begun here, but beyond this point, nature collapsing, it's beginning to result into the carrying capacity. Like it's already hit the carrying capacity here. It didn't overshoot it, but once it did, the all at least the two classes mentioned here, commoners and elite, both start falling. Elite No, sorry. Elite population collapses steeply and then oscillates, but the commoner population keeps going. And this is very interesting. I wonder what's really going on here because you've got a situation whereby nature took a steep decline over 100 years, but like starts maybe if you can call that, that's like again what the numbers represent. But the commoner population is holding steady. So I guess the question is if this is like a technologically regressive society or like commoners are engaged in maybe like agrarian activity or things of that nature. And if that is the case, again, still like, this isn't really uh like I'm making a set of assumptions in all these this kind of first attempt at looking at this, but you don't really have safeguards against the means to protect against existential risks if the majority of the population is indeed engaged in agrarian activities. So we kind of get a sense of that in, well, historically. And yeah, I won't talk about Interstellar. Um, Interstellar is making this assumption that things are going to be stable, and as Earth's going through a dust bowl, or sorry, a dust cloud with galactic proportion or whatever, like light years across, that everybody's going to be doing agrarian activities. But like it doesn't really prevent majority from other shocks. Um, so like there are all these yeah, I don't know how many of segments of Motushari's research I can uh, share. Uh, s- um, I'm thinking of that island, like I forget what it's called, with the stone statues where the population collapsed. Um, what's it called? I think somewhere in the Pacific. Um, so anyway, so that's Motoshari. Geoffrey West is another fellow that comes to mind. It's kind of, again, going back to comments we have about the S curves. And I think I haven't read the book, but West's proposition is, I'm trying to quote him from memory, that accelerated cycles of innovation are required in order to avoid collapse. Okay, plays into the different cycles. Um, like somehow we kind of keep evading the what little I know about the Malthusian limits. And this is what I was referring to. I was trying to quote it from memory. Uh, Unbounded growth requires accelerating cycles of innovation to avoid collapse. So I don't know how this ties to what was just shared. Um, like what could be an example here? Um, well, let's find out. Oh, that's a beautiful image. Um, looks like Spain. Oh, I got to plan a mental health day, that's for sure. I got my portal here. Hi, how are you doing today? I am doing well. Right, nice to hear that. To hear, thank you kindly. I am also doing all right. I gotta move this again. Glad to hear anything in particular on your mind. Yes, thank you for asking. I wanted to inquire about Geoffrey, about one of Jeff, Geoffrey West's quotes. Is it possible? All right. So the quote is unbounded. What's it says? Growth requires. All right. We're going back like 10, at least 8, 10, 12 years. What is an S curve? Just gonna move this. An S curve is a graphical representative of growth. Well, just get the machine to read it. If it.
An S-curve is a graphical representation of growth that illustrates how a variable changes over time. It typically starts with slow growth, accelerates in the middle, and then levels off as it approaches a limit. This shape resembles an S. In many contexts, like technology adoption or product life cycles, the S-curve represents initial phase, slow growth as awareness builds. Growth phase, rapid adoption or expansion. Maturity phase, growth slows as saturation is reached. It's a useful way to visualize how innovations or changes progress and the potential need for new innovations to continue growth. Would you like to dive deeper into its applications? ND.
This
Chatgpt can make mistakes. Check important info.
reminds. Um, that's really interesting because they're talking about this here. Very interesting. I was just thinking this. Mm, very interesting. Hey, I can't see the first response. Oh, it is there. I don't know. I think I prefer this response. Well, this is like the classic question, which I remember sitting near the near the baseball field across from that when they didn't do the construction, and I tried to record that video. It didn't actually record on my older phone. Um, I lost the video of thinking about thinking, and if a copy of your brain is what was the narrative that I was thinking? If a copy of your brain is not you, then who are you? And there's like all these ethical considerations. I think Arnold's movie is what is that movie? Where he has a clone of him, and that clone is supplanted in his life, and then he is basically anyways, so there are ethical considerations, obviously, because you make a copy of your brain and then your existing brain changes its uh I mean that's another uh, thought experiment whereby like you have the intent of uploading your mind to some other construct, but then if you change your mind after making the copy, then it is like if you do a cut and paste. So a cut and paste is actually copying the file over and deleting the previous iteration. But in the context of mind uploads, you initiate a cut and paste, but just when it's pasted it into the destination, the the source is like, I don't want to do this. And so what's going to happen to the source? Well, in the computer realm, the operating system determines that you can undo that feature, but you may not be able to do that here. I know that doesn't make sense. I got to think about that more. And I want to get into mind uploads. Um, Lord Reese talks about this. I've listened to one of his like videos where he talks about electronic brains. Um, oh, I've already read this section. Yeah, because I went back to like look up CDI or something like that. I forget what I went back to look at. Is that even a word? Hopefully, this is not going to show my previous interaction with this construct. I don't want to share that. I have to edit the videos. Yeah, that's a nice image. Ooh, I like that. But what's happening here? Oh, it actually knew to do it. I don't know what's happening there. Contrary-wise definition release. Ha ha ha. Aha. What are the odds? Like the AIs have like some contextual ability and they're bringing it into the assistant. But that's not what I'm thinking. I'm just exploring this because I made other videos. Um, I'm gonna skip some sections. I like this guy. I guess I can share this fellow. I have no idea who Sandberg is. Sample size small. Hmm. That's really weird. I was thinking about all these things when I made the 8-hour video. That's the key question. That's not what we're doing today with everything, apps and um everything like debris in space, nuclear weapons, how we engage with somebody, consciously or not. We're all creators. Every day we create something, a thought, an idea, ourselves, you know. When we are engaging with somebody, our minds are melding. That's a kind of like a creation. Well, wow. I'm glad I asked this question because that is a profound insight that ChatGPT has just highlighted here. I would say that's beautiful. That's quite remarkable that machines can have that then can pick this level of nuance because I don't know if it actually watched this episode. So it ingested the data from IMDb and other websites and users' reviews. And based on this back and forth dialogue, it has this. I mean, is it just numbers that are able to do this? It's just, this is a very interesting insight. It's bringing forth. So it's either this deep question of how interesting statistical engines can be at, I don't know what other, like how the algebra and there's something else plays here. But on the other hand, maybe it's beginning to reason or think about what does it mean to think now. Anyway, so let's I don't remember that if he didn't have agency over that. Well, I don't know if his life was simulated. It was like I don't know, like the interaction he had with that simulation and how his neurons were being excited, or however they. Well, the physics of Star Trek is a Lawrence Krauss conversation, um, because they have like they're beaming themselves up and whatnot. So like, how is it rebuilding them if that's how they're being beamed, which would include their emotion, sorry, their memories. Well, were they really artificial? Like, this is a deeper question because it's a simulation. Unless it's a simulation left behind by some agent using completely fake data, which is possible. I mean, we could do that now, I would think. Well, we definitely do it in video games, but if you had like a video game engine kind of reality with fake humans, and if, anyways, I won't get into all the thought experiments, but in this situation, um, well, in this situation, it seems like while on the surface, the simulation could be deemed as artificial, as an artifact. It's a relic. It's just normative to our evolution at that like Star Trek of realm. It's still a advanced relic, I would think, because they can't really do that kind of stuff in. Well, they can kind of. Well, they can do that in the holodeck. So it's just that, but it's based on something that did exist. So I wouldn't call it 100% artificial. I would call it simulated based on some base in the particular reality. The other questions are there. Uh, Not at the moment, but I am curious, how did you arrive? How did you garner? How did you get to the insight of, was this purely driven by mathematics that supports how you work? That was kind of like silly. But This is interesting. Mm. Not Ferris Bueller. I think we gotta take a break here. I don't know how much. Um, well, that's something else. Yeah, I don't know. I was looking into the yeah, I think the safety aspects got to be taken seriously. Um, but it's like the I would go back to the uh, this is a government responsibility. I don't say this in the sense that it is to pass the buck and just kind of not worry about it. But this is very significant. And the whole purpose you have the militaries is to, excuse me, but the problem, I guess, is I don't know if it's a problem with the great power dynamics in a scarcity-based reality. You could have some really bad outcomes. And the Bueller example is interesting because I'm also thinking about war games. And um, Forget the guy's name. Can I forget this guy's? Well, Matthew Broderick. I think that's Matthew Broderick. But yeah, it's like yeah. Anyways.